Commander Vex-Nine stood on the bridge of the thunderous wrath, watching the blue-green marble of Earth spinning lazily below. His three eyes blinked in sequence, a nervous habit he'd developed over his 47 years of service to the Galactic Dominion. Today was supposed to be simple. Today was supposed to be routine, sir, called out Navigator Krill from his station. The human planet appears to be, well, it's still there. Vex-Nine's mandibles clicked in irritation. Of course it's still there. You fool, planets don't just disappear. He paused, then added quietly, though after what happened to the Zephyrian Empire last month, I suppose anything's possible. The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Every crew member knew about the Zephyrian incident. An entire star system had simply vanished overnight, leaving behind nothing but empty space and a lot of very confused astronomers. Tactical Officer Thrakx, Vex-Nine barked, "Status report on our fleet." Thrax's forearms moved across his console with practiced efficiency. 16,000 ships in formation, sir. And he says, yeah, no that. Winnie, battle cruisers, destroyers, fighter squadrons, and our newest addition, the Planet Cracker Vengeance of Souls. All systems are operational and ready for planetary subjugation. Vex-Nine nodded, though his stomach churned. Subjugation was such an ugly word, but it was necessary. The humans had been sending radio signals into space for over a century now, and the Galactic Council had finally decided they were becoming too noisy. Time to bring them into the fold, whether they liked it or not. Communications, he ordered. Open a channel to Earth, full broadcast. All frequencies. The communications officer, a young Rigelian named Plix, fumbled with the controls. Channel open, sir. Vex-Nine cleared his throat and activated the universal translator. Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet from your sun. I am Commander Vex-Nine of the Galactic Dominion. You are now subjects of our glorious empire. Please prepare for immediate surrender and integration into our civilization. Resistance is futile and, frankly, rather pointless. He cut the transmission and waited. Standard protocol dictated that most species would respond within minutes, usually with either terrified pleas for mercy or defiant declarations of war. Either way, the outcome was always the same. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Then an hour, sir. Plix said hesitantly. We're receiving a transmission from Earth. Finally, Vex-Nine muttered. Put it on screen. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a human male with graying hair and an expression that Vex-Nine couldn't quite read. The human wore what appeared to be a simple blue uniform with some sort of insignia. Hello there, the human said, his voice carrying an odd tone that the translator couldn't quite interpret. This is Admiral Marcus Thompson of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your message about surrender and integration. The human paused, and his mouth curved upward in what Vex-Nine assumed was some sort of facial expression. Thanks for the heads up, but we're going to have to pass on that offer. Vex-Nine felt his three hearts skip a beat. Pass? You're declining surrender? Oh, absolutely, Thompson replied cheerfully, but don't worry about it. We're not declaring war or anything dramatic like that. We just think you might want to reconsider your approach here. The bridge crew exchanged glances. In 47 years of service, Vex-Nine had never encountered a species that simply declined to surrender. It was like being offered a glass of water and responding with interpretive dance. Human Thompson, Vex-Nine said slowly. I don't think you understand the situation. We have 16,000 warships surrounding your planet, but we possess technology that could reduce your world to cosmic dust in a matter of hours. This is not a negotiation. Thompson's expression didn't change. Oh, we understand perfectly. 16,000 ships is quite impressive. Very shiny. Must have cost a fortune in fuel just to get them all here. Then why? Vex-Nine asked through gritted teeth. Are you not surrendering? Thompson leaned back in his chair. Well, Commander, it's like this. We've been monitoring your fleet's approach for the past 6 months. We've analyzed your technology, your tactics, your formation patterns. We've even intercepted some of your personal communications, which, by the way, your encryption is terrible. Vex-Nine's mandibles began clicking rapidly. Very possible. Our systems are military grade. Sure they are, Thompson said, and there was definitely something in his voice now that made Vex-Nine's skin crawl. Tell me, Commander, how exactly do you plan to conquer a planet when half your fleet is running on backup power? The bridge fell silent, except for the sound of Vex-Nine's rapidly beating hearts. What did you say? The fuel shortages, Thompson continued conversationally, started about 3 weeks ago, didn't they? First it was just the outer escort ships, but now it's spread to your main battle group. I'm guessing you've got maybe 12 hours of combat operations left before you'll need to start rationing. Tactical Officer Grax's forearms froze over his console. He looked at Vex-Nine with wide eyes. Sir, he's correct. We received reports of fuel shortages yesterday, but Command said it was classified. Thompson's smile widened. Oh, that's just the beginning. Would you like to hear about the mutiny brewing on your ship, Eternal Darkness? Or perhaps the fact that your navigation systems have been miscalculating jump coordinates for the past month? Vex-Nine felt his world tilting. How could you possibly know? Because we've been watching you, Commander. Listening to you. Learning from you. Thompson's expression grew more serious. Did you really think a species that's been broadcasting radio signals for a century wouldn't have developed some pretty sophisticated monitoring capabilities? The communication officer, Plix, turned pale. Sir, incoming transmission from Fleet Command. They're asking for an immediate status report on our operational readiness. Don't answer that, Vex-Nine said quickly. Then, to Thompson, what do you want? Want? Thompson laughed, and the sound made every crew member on the bridge shiver. Commander, we don't want anything. We're just curious about something. In all your years of conquering planets, has anyone ever asked you why you do it? Vex-Nine blinked all 3 eyes in sequence. Why we? What kind of question is that? We bring order to chaos. We spread civilization across the galaxy. We unite disparate species under one glorious banner. Ah, Thompson said, nodding. And how's that working out for you? What do you mean? Mean? Well, let's see. The Zephyrian Empire you conquered last year, gone. Vanished. Poof. Thompson made a gesture with his hands. The Crystalline Confederacy? Turned into some sort of hive mind that's been sending your fleet commanders love letters. The methane breathers of Titan 7? They've somehow learned to reproduce by budding, and now there are 47 different versions of their species, each claiming to be the real one. Vex-Nine's mandibles had stopped clicking, his mouth hung open. And don't even get me started on the tentacle people, Thompson continued. Though I have to admit, their newfound interest in interpretive dance is surprisingly entertaining. How do you know all this? Vex-Nine whispered. Thompson's smile returned, but now it looked different, predatory. Dull, because we've been talking to them. Commander, all of them. Every species you've conquered. Every world you've liberated. Every civilization you've brought into your glorious empire. They've been reaching out to us for months, asking for advice. Advice about what? About how to deal with annoying alien fleets that show up unannounced and demand surrender. Thompson leaned forward. And do you know what we told them? Vex-Nine couldn't speak. His 3 hearts were beating so fast he thought they might burst. We told them to laugh. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Laughter was a concept that translated poorly across species. Most aliens found it either incomprehensible or mildly threatening. Laugh? Vex-Nine managed. Oh yes, Thompson said, his eyes twinkling. You see, Commander, there's something about human psychology that you and your fellow conquerors never quite understood. When faced with overwhelming force, most species either submit or fight, but humans, we have a third option, which is, yes, we find the whole situation absolutely hilarious. Before Vex-Nine could respond, his communications officer started frantically pressing buttons. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Hundreds of them. All on the same frequency. Put them through, Vex-Nine ordered weakly. The bridge filled with sound. Laughter, hundreds of different species. All laughing in their own unique ways. Chittering, howling, bubbling, clicking, musical laughter that created a symphony of mirth that seemed to echo through the very fabric of space. What is this? Vex-Nine asked, his voice barely audible above the chorus. Thompson's image remained steady on the screen. That, Commander, is the sound of every species you've ever conquered finally understanding the joke. What joke? Daisy. The joke that you've been trying to conquer the galaxy for 3,000 years, and you still haven't figured out that the only way to truly unite different species is to give them something to laugh about together. Vex-Nine sank into his command chair. I don't understand. No, Thompson said gently, you don't, but that's okay. Understanding isn't required for what comes next. What comes next? Gum. Thompson's smile became positively radiant. Why, Commander? What comes next is that you and your fleet are cordially invited to the first annual Galactic Comedy Festival. It starts in 3 days on a lovely little moon called Europa. The Zephyrians will be doing stand-up comedy about their recent disappearing act. The Crystalline Confederacy is planning an interpretive dance about collective consciousness, and the methane breathers are putting on a one-being show about the challenges of reproducing by budding. Vex-Nine stared at the screen in complete bewilderment. A comedy festival? Oh yes. And you're the guests of honor. After all, you've provided more material for interstellar humor than any other single entity in galactic history. The laughter from the communications array grew louder, more musical, more complex. It was like listening to the birth of a new language, one that every species in the galaxy could understand. But, Vex-Nine said weakly, what about the conquest? What about the Empire? What about our glorious destiny? Thompson's expression softened. Commander, has anyone ever told you that you take yourself way too seriously? And with that, the transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the thunderous wrath in stunned silence, except for the ongoing chorus of galactic laughter that seemed to be coming from everywhere at once. Vex-Nine looked around at his crew, then at the view screen showing Earth spinning peacefully below, then at the tactical display showing his mighty fleet of 16,000 ships, and half of which were running on backup power, and all of which were suddenly, inexplicably, completely irrelevant. Well, he said finally, this is new. 3 hours later, Vex-Nine found himself in the most bizarre situation of his military career. He was sitting in his private quarters, staring at a datapad that contained what could only be described as the most comprehensive intelligence report he'd ever read. And it had been delivered by a human child. Well, not delivered personally. The transmission had come through normal channels, but the voice on the recording belonged to someone who couldn't have been more than 12 Earth years old. Hi there, Mr. Alien Commander, sir, the young voice had said cheerfully. My name is Jenny Martinez, and I'm in 7th grade at Roosevelt Middle School in Ohio. For our social studies project, we had to research different alien civilizations, and I picked you guys. Hope you don't mind, but I hacked into your databases last week. Don't worry. I didn't break anything. Well, except maybe your payroll system, but that was already pretty messed up. Vex-Nine had listened to this transmission 17 times now, and it still made his brain hurt. The report itself was devastating. Jenny Martinez, age 12, had somehow accessed classified Galactic Dominion files and compiled a 847-page analysis of every flaw, weakness, and bureaucratic nightmare in their entire military structure. She'd even included helpful suggestions for improvement, complete with colorful charts and what appeared to be hand-drawn illustrations of various alien species. A knock at his door interrupted his brooding. Enter, he called. Tactical Officer Thrakx stumbled in, all 4 arms carrying datapads and looking like he hadn't slept in days. Sir, we have a problem. Actually, we have several thousand problems, but they're all connected to one really big problem, which is, the humans appear to have, well, they've turned our invasion into some sort of educational opportunity. Vex-Nine felt a familiar sinking sensation in his stomach. Explain. Basie. Thrakx activated his largest datapad, and a holographic display filled the room. It showed Earth, surrounded by the Dominion fleet, but now there were thousands of small human vessels zipping between the alien ships like excited insects. Tourism shuttles. Thrakx said weakly. They're running tours of our fleet. Apparently, tickets are selling for something they call credits, and there's a waiting list 3 months long. Vex-9 stared at the display. They're touring our warships? Yes, sir. And taking pictures. Lots of pictures. The humans seem to find our weapon systems particularly amusing. Oh, and they're selling something called alien invasion survival kits that consist entirely of joke items and snack foods. The display zoomed in on one of the human shuttles. Through its transparent hull, Vex-9 could see dozens of humans pointing various devices at his ships while a tour guide gestured enthusiastically. Sir, Thrakx continued, they've also established what they're calling a cultural exchange program. Several of our crew members have volunteered to participate. Volunteered for what? Cooking shows, sir. Vex-9 blinked all 3 eyes. Cooking shows? Yes, sir. Apparently, human entertainment involves watching other beings prepare food while discussing their personal lives. Ensign Blort from Deck 7 has become quite popular. They've given him his own program called Cooking with Tentacles. The commander rubbed his temples with 2 of his 6 hands. What else? Well, sir, there's the matter of the Galactic Comedy Festival that Admiral Thompson mentioned. What about it? Thrax's expression grew even more pained. Sir, it's real. And it's not just a small gathering. We've received confirmations from over 400 species across 17 galaxies. They're calling it the largest interspecies gathering in recorded history. 400 species? Vex-9 stood up so quickly he knocked over his chair. That's impossible. Half of those civilizations don't even know each other exist. Yes, sir. That's what we thought too. But apparently the humans have been running something they call social media for the past several decades. They've been connecting isolated species across the galaxy and teaching them to communicate through something called memes. Memes? Apparently they're small units of cultural information that spread rapidly through populations. The humans have weaponized humor, sir. Before Vex-9 could respond, his communication system chimed. Commander, came Plix's voice from the bridge. Incoming priority transmission from Fleet Admiral Thrakx himself. Vex-9's blood turned cold. Thrakx was the supreme commander of all Dominion forces, a being so powerful and intimidating that most species surrendered just upon hearing his name mentioned. Put him through to my quarters, Vex-9 said, straightening his uniform. The holographic display shifted, and suddenly the imposing figure of Fleet Admiral Thrakx materialized in the room. His massive frame, covered in battle scars and ceremonial armor, filled half the available space. His voice, when he spoke, could shatter planets. Commander Vex-9, Thrakx rumbled, explain to me why I am receiving reports that your invasion fleet has been turned into a tourist attraction. Sir, the situation is somewhat complex. Complex? Thrakx's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. Commander, I have just received an invitation to something called a comedy roast where apparently the entire galaxy is planning to make jokes about our military campaigns. The invitation came with a gift basket containing something called popcorn and a note that says looking forward to a good laugh. Soxo, Earth. Vex-9 opened his mouth, then closed it again. Furthermore, Thrakx continued, I have been informed that 3 of our most classified military operations have been turned into what humans call reality television programs. Our siege of the Andromedan Republic is now a show called Real Housewives of the Galactic War Zone. And our attempted conquest of the silicon-based collective has become something called Keeping Up with the Crystalline. Sir, I can explain. Can you? Thrakx leaned forward, and Vex-9 could smell the sulfur on his breath. Can you explain why a species that we've never heard of, living on a backwater planet in an insignificant star system, has somehow managed to turn our entire military into a source of entertainment? They appear to be more advanced than we initially assessed, sir. More advanced? Thrakx's voice rose to a roar. Commander, they've been sending us recipes. Apparently our fusion reactors make excellent barbecue grills, and they want to know if we'd be interested in catering their festival. Vex-9 felt the last of his dignity crumble. What are your orders, sir? Thrakx was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. Commander, in my 300 years of military service, I have conquered 17 galaxies, subjugated 10,000 species, and brought order to countless chaotic systems. I have faced down planet-eating monsters, time-traveling terrorists, and beings made of pure energy. Yes, sir. But I have never, in all my years, encountered a species that could make me laugh. Vex-Nine stared at his superior officer. Sir, yesterday I received a personal message from a human child named Kevin from something called Kansas. He sent me a drawing of me riding what he called a space horse while wearing a hat made of flowers. He said I looked super cool, but maybe a little sad, and that I should smile more. The room fell silent. Commander, Thrakx said softly, when was the last time you smiled? Vex-Nine thought about it. I don't remember, sir. Neither do I. Thrakx stood up, his massive frame casting shadows across the room. Commander Vex-Nine, I am hereby issuing new orders for your fleet. Sir, you will attend this Galactic Comedy Festival. Begingas, you will participate fully. You will learn to laugh. And then, you will report back to me with a complete analysis of how these humans have accomplished something that our entire civilization has failed to do in 3 millennia. Which is what, sir? They've found a way to bring the galaxy together without conquest, without force, without fear. They've done it with nothing but humor and kindness and an apparently unlimited supply of snack foods. Thrax's image began to fade, but his voice remained strong. Oh, and Commander? If you happen to meet this Kevin from Kansas, tell him I said thank you for the drawing. It's hanging on my office wall right next to my medals for galactic conquest. The transmission ended, leaving Vex-Nine alone with Grax, who had been standing at attention throughout the entire conversation. Well, Grax said finally, I guess we're going to a comedy festival. Vex-Nine looked out his viewport at Earth, where the blue-green planet continued spinning peacefully, surrounded by tourist shuttles and the most powerful invasion fleet in galactic history, all of whom were apparently learning to make barbecue. Grax, he said, have you ever heard the expression, if you can't beat them, join them? No, sir. Neither had I. Until today. Vex-Nine picked up the datapad containing Jenny Martinez's intelligence report. But I have a feeling we're about to learn a lot of new expressions. 3 days later, Commander Vex-Nine found himself standing on the surface of Europa, wearing what humans called a name tag that read, "Hello, my name is Vex, please be patient." I'm learning to laugh. Around him, hundreds of species from across the galaxy were mingling, sharing stories, and engaging in something that could only be described as the largest interspecies comedy show in the history of the universe. The Zephyrians, who had indeed vanished their entire star system, turned out to have done it as an elaborate practical joke. They spent 20 minutes explaining the punchline, which involved quantum mechanics and the concept of comedic timing. The audience didn't understand the science, but everyone agreed the commitment to the bit was impressive. The Crystalline Confederacy performed interpretive dance that somehow managed to be both deeply moving and hilarious. The methane breathers did indeed discuss the challenges of budding reproduction, and their timing was surprisingly excellent. And through it all, humans wandered through the crowd, introducing species to each other, translating jokes across cultural barriers, and somehow making everyone feel welcome and included. Vex-Nine watched a human child, probably Kevin from Kansas, teaching a group of battle-hardened alien warriors how to make something called friendship bracelets. The warriors, each capable of destroying entire planets, were concentrating intently on weaving colorful strings together. Commander, came a familiar voice. Vex-Nine turned to see Admiral Thompson approaching, carrying what appeared to be 2 cups of steaming liquid. Admiral, Vex-Nine said, accepting the offered cup, I have to ask, how did you know this would work? Thompson smiled. We didn't. But we figured the worst that could happen was we'd die laughing. Vex-Nine stared at him. That's your entire strategy? Hope for the best? Pretty much. Thompson took a sip of his drink. Oh, that and the fact that we've been monitoring galactic communications for decades. Did you know that most conquered species spend their time complaining about their conquerors? Turns out you guys aren't very popular. We brought order to chaos. Jisham, you brought bureaucracy to freedom, Thompson corrected gently. There's a difference. Vex-Nine looked around at the festival, at species that had been enemies for millennia now sharing jokes and snacks, at his own crew members laughing with beings they'd been prepared to fight just days before. So what happens now? He asked. Thompson's smile grew wider. Now we see if the galaxy is ready for the next step, which is galactic democracy. Turns out when people can laugh together, they can work together too. Vex-Nine felt something strange happening to his face. His mandibles were moving, his mouth was curving upward, and a sound was coming from his throat that he'd never made before. He was laughing. And for the first time in his 47 years of military service, Commander Vex-Nine understood what it meant to be truly victorious.